Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Time. It is so good to be with you again to enjoy this book, The Apple and the Arrow. Today, we come to the final chapter, Chapter 5, The Dawn. "What a good lad you have been today, Walter," said Hedwig Tell. "You have kept the water pail full of water. You have carried in wood, and the fire has been blazing all day." Hedwig Tell was weaving linen on the loom. She continued, "And not once today, son, have I heard you quarreling with Rudy. You are both growing up." Her words of praise made Walter a little uncomfortable. He had tried to be helpful all day, but yet he had a special reason for doing so. He wanted to go to Hockalp that night. This was the last day of the year 1290. With the dawn of the new year, perhaps 3 brave little cantons would free themselves of Austrian tyranny. He wanted to be there. Walter leaned on the loom and watched the shuttle dart back and forth. Then he said, "Mother, ever since Father and Grandfather left yesterday for the town, Rudy and I have been playing we were grown-up men and tried to take their places." "Oh, so that was it," smiled their mother. She leaned over and felt playful of Walter's shoulder blade. "What? Do I feel angels' wings sprouting from my shoulders, my son?" Walter grinned. He loved his mother to joke with him. Then she began to weave again. The shuttle made a homely rhythm that Walter loved as it flew across the warp. After a long silence, the boy said, "Mother, please, stop weaving for a moment. I want to ask you something." His eyes were shining, and he was eager and anxious. His mother laid down the shuttle and waited for him to speak. Rudy was playing on the floor with a toy cow his father had carved for him. Suddenly, Walter burst out, "Mother, I'm 11 years old, and soon will be 12. You know what's happening tonight at Hockalp, the signal fires. Mother, can't I go up to Hockalp at midnight? Please, 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 Mother." Rudy bounded up from the floor and asked eagerly, "Can I go along, Mother? Can I go with Walter?" Rudy had the keenest ears for things he was not supposed to hear. "You'll freeze up there, Rudy. It's cold at midnight, you know," warned his brother. "Oh, I'll not freeze a bit. I'll put on that bear's coat that's so warm and my fur mittens. I'll not freeze, will I, Mother?" "Quiet, children. Don't tease," she scolded. She laid her shuttle down and gazed through the window as if she were looking at something far, far away. The boys stared at her silently. After a long pause, she said, "Yes, you may both of you go. But if I let you go, Walter, you must take good care of Rudy. Don't let him get lost or chilled. Will you?" "No, I won't, Mother, I promise. Marie will be there too, and we will both take care of Rudy. If you'll only let me go." "Yes, my son, you may go. There may never again in your lifetime be another light like this one in the land of Uri. It will be a night I want you to remember when you are old. I want you to know while you are young, my son, that brave men will risk all they have for a belief. Now let us eat, and when it grows late, put on your bearskin capes and woolen socks. It will be bitterly cold at midnight at Hockalp." Several hours later, the Tell boys climbed the trail through the darkness and snow, wrapped in bear fur coats. Prinz barked at their heels. When Walter and Rudy reached Hockalp, they were puffing and panting, for the trail was steep. Many mountain folk stood about a huge pile of logs, hugging themselves to keep warm. They were all very quiet. The dark forest rose about them. The night was crystal clear, with the stars like diamonds. Walter found Marie and her grandfather together. The children chased each other and threw snowballs and were so warm. Suddenly, Walter noticed Klaus, the hermit, standing near. As the boys stopped and stared at him, Klaus knelt in the snow and raised his hands to the sky. Soon all of the herders were kneeling in the snow, even the children. There was a long, long silence as they waited, and then Klaus prayed, "Dear Lord, Father of all men, look down upon us this great night. Be with us when the bells ring, when the signal fires burn. Help us throw from our shoulders the yoke of the tyrant. But, good Lord, let not blood flow this night in the land of Uri. Even in this, our greatest hour, help us to remember that all men, even evil men, are our brothers. Keep our hearts pure, our arms strong. For the Virgin's sake, amen. A deep chorus of amens rose to heaven, and then Walter heard... What did Walter hear? A sound he had always loved, the deep notes of the great althorn. Its slow, sad melody rose and fell, echoing from the mountain peaks, growing even fainter and fainter. Someone played a flute. As the two melodies joined, Walter heard the tolling of distant bells. From far off they came, from valleys below, the bells of Berglen, of Altdorf, of distant Bernen. Tolling, tolling, deep and sad, they joined with the lovely sounds of the Althorn flute. Rudy, listen. It's midnight now. Listen to the bells and the flute and the Althorn. Walter held his brother tightly by the hand. Look, Rudy, they're going to light the fires now. Look. As the boys watched the little flames like orange flowers blossom at the base of the woodpile, the flames grew larger. Then all at once a red tongue of fire roared up into the dark sky. The children ran from the fire and held their hands before their faces. Look, Marie! Look, Rudy! Look at the fires! Shouted Walter. All about them now the highest mountain meadows danced fires, here and there and everywhere. Are they going to burn down the mountains? Asked Rudy, frightened of the many fires he saw about them. Of course not, Rudy. Don't be scared. The mountains can't burn down. They're wet with ice and snow, soothed Walter. Now began singing. The sounds of the flute, the deep althorn, and the distant bells, the people held hands and marched slowly around the fire. They sang an ancient song. It seemed to Walter as he listened that it was a song such as patriots might sing as they carried upon their shoulders the body of a dead hero. He felt a great joy within him. His throat felt tightened as tears were on his cheeks. Only the tears were tears of happiness. For at that moment, Walter Tell, a simple mountain lad, seemed to know why 33 men had met on that mountain meadow and had sworn an oath to fight and die together. Why his own father had stood so fearlessly before Gessler that autumn day in Altdorf. Why he himself had such faith in his father that he was not afraid of anything, even of dying. Now he knew why his mother had wished him to be on the Elk that night of nights. He felt this only dimly, but he felt it nevertheless. He knew what the wise have always known, that man lives by faith, and that faith can be stronger than fear. He marched and sang with the others, and his heart was full to bursting. And the bells tolled, and the fires blazed, and the stars looked down. He forgot all about Rudy. He was so carried away by the beauty and solemnity of that glorious night. Then someone shouted, "Look! Down in the valley, look!" And as they looked, a sudden flame arose against the dark hills. Walter heard heavy sounds as if a giant blacksmith were hitting an anvil with great hammer blows. "The castle of Zwing-Uri is afire," called one. "The castle of Zwing-Uri is falling. Gessler's castle has been captured." At the word Gessler, the people stopped marching. The flute and the althorn ceased. Then, as if led by a conductor, the people burst suddenly into a song of joy and of triumph and liberation. The mountain folk clung to one another as they sang. Some danced as though they had wings upon their feet. The wind was bitter, the snow icy, yet Walter Tell felt neither tired nor cold. He ran and danced with the others, uplifted by the beauty of the music and the wonder of this night. The fires dimmed, but on and on the herdsmen danced and sang. The sky in the east lightened with the promise of day. Then Walter felt Marie tugging at his fur cape. "Walter, where's Rudy?" "I haven't seen him for a long time."
Oh, Marie, I forgot him. He was here a little while ago. The music was so beautiful and the dancing. I guess I just forgot. And I promised Mother to watch him too. Let's look for him. He may be asleep somewhere." The two children left the crowd and began to search for the little boy. They could not find him. Then Walter whistled a call that Prinz knew. The herd dog came bounding to him from a hole in a big pine tree. "There he is, over there," shouted Marie. "In that tree. See, Walter?" And there lay Rudy, snuggled like a little squirrel in the hole of the tree. With Prinz for a pillow, he had kept warm through the night. "Rudy, Rudy, wake up, boy, you'll freeze," shouted Walter, shaking his brother. "Where am I?" wailed the little boy. "I'm cold. Where am I?" "On Hulkout, Rudy, and this is the new year. Come, we must go home, and you can get warm in bed." Taking his brother by the hand, Walter half carried and half dragged Rudy down the slippery trail. The fires faded on the mountain tops. The noise of the falling timber ceased. The elf horn stopped its sad music. So did the little tender flute. The people began to wander to their homes, and soon became dawn, the dawn of the year 1291. Switzerland was born. The next day, when William Tell and grandfather came home, they told the Tell family of their adventures in Altdorf. They said that the bailiffs and the knights had fled the land. The castle of Zweig-Uri was now but a pile of black ashes. They heard the castle of Underwalden was burned to the ground too. The tyrants had run away, and so Uri, Schweiz, and Underwalden were free at last. Yet in all of this turmoil, few people had died, and little blood had been shed. And so began the little country of Switzerland. As years, decades, and centuries passed, other cantons joined with the three. Today, 22 cantons form the Swiss Republic, which we now know. As the years passed, William Tell became an old man with a white beard. He could no longer climb the mountains to hunt for the chamois and the deer, for his eyes were not so keen as they had once been. He lived in the same hut where he had always lived. Whenever he went to Berglen or Altdorf, the people doffed their hats to him, and as he walked the cobblestone streets and sat at the inn, the people of his canton knew well that they owed a part of their freedom to brave William Tell and to his son, Walter. Walter Tell grew to be a large man like his father, with a great brown arms and dark beard. He too became skilled with the crossbow. He became a hunter of chamois and deer like his father, and knew the best places to find game in the alpine forests. When the time came for him to marry, he chose Marie as his bride. And as the years passed, 2 sons and 2 daughters were born to them. He named the oldest William, after his own father. On cold winter evenings, when the hours passed slowly, Walter and Marie would gather their children around them and tell them stories of the days when they were young. Often the children asked for the story of Gessler and their grandfather and father. For were not their very own father and grandfather now heroes of Switzerland? Sometimes Walter would relate the story of how those 33 men had met on a mountain meadow and vowed to fight together against the tyrants. Then, just before they went to bed, the girls would plead with their mother to tell them how she, their Uncle Rudy, and their own father watched the signal fires burn and heard the bells toll on that now distant dawn of 1291. And so it happened, since children everywhere liked the same stories, that other people told their children the story of William and Walter Tell. It spread from person to person. Before long, people in other lands learned too of the great bowmen of Uri. Years passed, centuries passed, and this old story was told by fathers to sons, by mothers to daughters, and now today, the story of William Tell is the story of one man's revolt against tyranny. It is just as true now as it was in the days of old of the 13th century. The story of the apple and the arrow. The end.